go forward, pleats. So there's a bunch of people sewing face masks for doctors to fight COVID-19. And so I've spent the past 5 days prototyping 3D printed tools designed to help improve or speed up the process of cutting the fabric and folding in pleats and stuff. Hereafter follows a demo. Okay, so the first thing is the cutting process. So we have these spacers here that these are 9 inches long. So you take your ruler, or really just any straight edge, and you take your cloth, spread it out, and then straight edge. Got your spacers. You position the ruler such that the edges of these things line up with the bottom of this and the top and the bottom of the ruler. Then you take your cutting implement and you cut across where you just measured 9 inches. I found that this may be basic cutting knowledge, but I found that if you pull slightly on the fabric, it helps keep it from bunching up in front of the knife. And you can keep going. By the way, this is for the mask design that is 9 inches by 6 inches, or like that it starts at 9 inches by 6 inches. This is fabric. Don't lie flat. Anyway, repeat. Okay. And of course I moved it. You can still kind of line it up with the cut there. Continue cut. We'll call that good for now. I guess I'm just eyeballing this end cut here. Okay, now you have a long strip of 9-inch wide fabric. Did I get that right? Yeah, that's the right way around. Okay, cool. So, now that that's done, hang on. Here's where the other bit, have this cutting rig here. You take this and, which way around did I have this? Okay. You fold this over, probably want a little bit of tension on the cloth. Line it up. Fold this over. May have just lost a little bit. This thing, the first and the last masks, depending on how you do it, may not be quite to size. Particularly the last one, because it may not line up with the. I didn't measure out a multiple of 6 inches, so anyway. However, that seems pretty good. Just this bit will be slop. So we have this wrapped around. This is about 6 inches long, or it's calculated such that from here back around to here is 6 inches. So if you're using an X-Acto knife, you kind of have to. I forgot to mention. Hang on. Oh, I have the wrong side. This side. These are 2 bars across here, and this is 1 bar. So you have to cut between the 2 bars up here. If you're using an X-Acto knife, you have to kind of saw at it. I did find a utility knife a little bit ago, but I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see if that works. It seems as though that ought to do it. Well, still a bit of a sawing motion. I'm trying not to. Sorry, I'm trying to not aim the blade at myself on camera. In any case, and there you go. Now you have cut. Let's count them. So, side note, the idea is that each one of these is a mask. You fold it over like that. Actually, I find it works better to fold it up. I don't know. It just seems easier to look at. So you can see where the edges line up more easily. And now you have a 6x9 sheet of fabric. These ones look like these are waist deep. Well, I guess actually these are still well, they're nearly 6 inches. Anyway, long story short, most of these are fine. So, and etc. You at this stage, well, you can fold them in now if you want to, or you can fold them later. In any case, oh, I was going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we. Maybe there's another bit of slack at the end. That one actually looks big enough to still be a mask, so yeah, you can make that into a mask. In any case, so now you have a stack of like 8 or maybe 9 masks, and if you were to go down the whole, like at some point you probably don't want to add too much cloth because it will make it too thick and it'll make the measurements a little bit off, and also it might be hard to cut through, but you can try adding, just keep wrapping more stuff on this thing and cutting them all at once so that you don't have to cut them each individually. That's the point of all of these cutting implements. Next step is folding the pleats. So we have here our fabric, which has been folded over, or you could use 2 sheets of fabric laid on top of each other. Now I've made this device here a pleat rack, that's what I've been calling it. It has a number of hooks in it that intermesh with each other. So when you take a, let's see here, I've been I've kind of been holding this thing down with my foot, but I feel like that's maybe not the best thing to do on camera in front of the internet, so I will try to do this one-handed. Take this. You can probably, like, maybe don't tape this down because, well, I'll show you why in a minute, but in any case, you can hold this down however you like, as long as it just stays there. So anyway, I have this piece of tape here. It's got center line and these lines 9 inches apart. So you center this thing on it with this dot here aligned with a line. Then you put your cloth on and line up one of the edges so that it lines up with the line. And then you pull this forward until you see one of these tabs here. These tabs tell you how far forward to go. So you pull it forward and then you drop it and shunk, pleats. And once more for good measure, you place your fabric, line it up, go forward, pleats. You can tug on it a bit. If you want to, like if it somehow ended up too far forward, or if you just want to move it forward or backwards or whatever, you can kind of like shimmy it forward like this. And tug on it a bit in either direction. But I've measured these things so that they should, given 9x6 fabric, they should make pleats pretty centered. So, while I'm at it, and I remember, I haven't actually used this feature yet, but there's a little hole right about here, which marks the kind of the center of a given pleat. Like, see the midpoint of here and the midpoint of here. Hang on, let me just demonstrate. So we got this hole right here. It's in the center of this pleat here. If you want to like line something up. I just figured I'd throw it in for good measure. So now here's where you find out why I told you not to tape down the pleat rack. Because you can just hold it like this and it'll keep the fabric in place. And you can take it to your sewing machine. And I'm trying not to get my arm in frame like I did last time. And you can just stick it into your sewing machine. Now, you can, you don't have to follow these steps exactly. For instance, you could place a, what was I saying? Place a filter, for instance, in between the layers of fabric before you put it in the pleat rack. You could let's see, the way I've done this here, we have raw edges around the ends, around the edges, and you could fold the fabric over, sew the ends, except leave one open, and then flip it inside out, and then sew the remaining end, and then put it in the pleat rack, and that should it should handle that fine too. Then you sew the pleats into the folded fabric. The fabric with knife edges. There we go. Cool. Now you can add ties to it, or whatever you were gonna do. I suppose while I'm still here, I want to point out that you could, like, while this is still in the pleat rack, you can just lie ties across there and sew them in while you're at it. Might save a little bit of time. Now, I realize these designs may not be quite perfect, but done is better than perfect, and we need these things now. We need people to be making masks for doctors who don't have anything at the moment. And so to that end, I have published the files for this online on Thingiverse and on GitHub. You can find the links in the description, and they are OpenSCAD files, which is kind of like a programming language for 3D shapes. So it should be fairly easy to go in and say change the width of the mask, or change the spacing of the pleats, or the size of the pleats, or whatever. So if you have a 3D printer and you think these things would be useful, then I encourage you to print them out. Or if you know anybody who is making masks, you could give a set to them and see if it helps. However, I realize that not everybody has a 3D printer, and I don't want that to be an impediment to progress. So I am willing to send these to people for the price of shipping, for as fast as I can print them. If there are enough people, I might need to organize a spreadsheet to track requests and stuff. But in the meantime, just put a comment in the comments, or send me a message on Facebook if that's where you're seeing this, and I will, and let me know if I forget to get back to you, if I lose track. And if demand is high enough, then I might have to start like wrangling in other groups to help 3D print these things and get them out. But my hope is that these things will be helpful and help improve the speed at which masks can be produced, so that we can we have the best shot of keeping doctors and others safe. Thanks. Okay, a quick update. I've posted a link to a request form in the description, so go there and post your requests. Thanks.